So to answer some of those questions that are on your minds about ACCUPLACER. So the first question was, they get 3 opportunities to test. November 1st is the deadline to test these students. I would recommend they test, have the test materials. So in your packet, you received a laminated testing resource guide. Looks like this. On the back, there is IV prep materials. At the end of our presentation, one of the last slides also provides you with our website information. Using that website information, you can have the direct link to our IV prep. I would strongly encourage you to be sharing that now with your students and your teachers and your parents, that these resources are available to them to prepare them to test. So the question was, they get 3 opportunities. I have to get all 3 in before November 1st? No, that is not best practice. Best practice is you give them the test prep materials, have them test. If they are not successful, it is up to you, the school, to determine, are you going to have another testing window for those students within that November 1st deadline. If you choose to test them again, you have to ensure that they've prepped again. You don't want them to come back the next day and let me try this again, okay? So it's at your discretion. If you feel, no, in this window, I'm not going to test you for a second time, and you would like to send them to IV Tech, you may send them to IV Tech as their next window or their next opportunity to test. Again, it's at your discretion. The third time, I would recommend, if they are not a senior, do not utilize that third time to test them. And this is why. If they have decided to come to IV Tech, they will not be able to take a third time, or a fourth time, in June, in May, in July, in August, if they want to come to Ivy Tech and be a full-time fall student or take a summer class. Okay, so typically we recommend you don't use the third time. Okay? Here's the other thing you need to think about. If they test and they're 20 points away from the passing score that you want them to earn, or not you want them to earn, that they need to earn, then it's probably not ideal that they test the second time. They're just not ready for that dual credit class. Okay? We want ACCUPLACER to be the last resort when you're assessing your students, and this is why. Being a former guidance counselor, I know students are tested a lot. This is the last resort for your students, okay? So give them another look at a different test. Maybe they will pass, maybe they will do well. But they take the PSAT. How many schools here offer PSAT to 8th graders as an option? Okay, raise your hand, because I want other people to know that that is a possibility, right? Okay. How many of you offer the PSAT to 9th graders? Okay. How many of you offer the PSAT to sophomores? Okay. Juniors? All right. And we're also encouraging students to take the SAT and the ACT. Right? How many encourage sophomores to take an SAT or ACT? Just to look at it, to see what it looks like. Okay. How many obviously encourage their juniors to take an SAT or ACT? And then obviously seniors. How many encourage your students to take an SAT or ACT more than once, knowing the second time they usually do better, right? So they are tested enough. I didn't even go into ECAs and ISTEP, right? Not touching that. So what I'm saying to you, ACCUPLACER is the last resort to give them another opportunity to earn dual credit. But if they have tested and taken all these other standardized tests and they want to do ACCUPLACER, then it's at the discretion of you, the high school, on whether you want to offer it once or a second testing window. Working with schools and learning their best practices and what they're doing, we're learning that sometimes they offer this test after school, not during the school day. So if you really want to take this test, you may come after school on a Wednesday, and from after school until 4 o'clock we'll be here, or after school until 5 o'clock we'll be here. I know with some schools there's a late start time on Wednesdays for professional development. Maybe you test them during that time, so they're not missing class time and you're not taking them out of class. Or you don't have computer lab space, or the one-to-one feature. So there's multiple different times you can test your students. Okay, so that's at your discretion on when you want to do that. But knowing that we advise, best practice, you don't test all 3 times by November 1st. But following that November 1st deadline is important because that's the state deadline that Ivy Tech has established. So there was a question about PSAT scores. The PSAT scores we will accept, okay? So I know they're testing October 19th, I believe, right? Wednesday, October 19th?
We're not testing till November 2nd.
Till November 2nd. Is that Saturday date?
Yeah, that's the alternate date because we're on fall break.
Fall break. Perfect. Okay, is anybody else testing November 2nd? Okay. Okay.
I'll take that to central office and check on that.
Okay. So, we'll take that information. So this is what we need it to look like. So knowing that typically students test before that November 1st deadline, Dawn's going to look for that alternative date for PSAT and review that with central office. But we will take those scores to verify that they are college career ready with those test scores of PSAT. We're asking them in the form of their actual report. I understand that you get the massive spreadsheet, column XXV, massive spreadsheet, and I know there were some questions. What columns do we use? Where's that test score? And I think that's a great question for the college board meeting. I know there's one at IPFW, I believe, on the 7th, next week. Am I correct? Is that Tuesday? Tuesday? Wednesday, okay. So there's the college board meeting next Wednesday. I would advise you to get on the website and probably attend that just so you better understand of when are the PSAT scores coming back this year, because I know last year they came back in March. Typically they used to come back in December, but with the reformatting of the test, they didn't come back till February, March. Another question I'd ask them, you know, maybe that user-friendly spreadsheet on what columns those test scores can be found in, okay? So we will accept PSAT scores from 2016, okay? And we'll verify those November 2nd alternative test dates. Yes, ma'am.
So we won't have the results back before November, so they should still take the ACCUPLACER.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
The ACCUPLACER but do well on the PSAT.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So we will accept the PSAT scores, but we do advise you to administer the ACCUPLACER to those students that need to test, and maybe they will do well on that ACCUPLACER exam and have that confidence of going into that SAT, or PSAT, excuse me. Yep, great question. All right, we have a user agreement that my colleagues will be passing out to you. This user agreement kind of outlines the expectations that we have set forth for the 2016-2017 proctors. This information will outline what you agree to and the idea that you will maintain the confidentiality. Mrs. Sparks spoke to you this morning, understanding all the tests that we do provide our community and to students and our dual credit partners, that we want to make sure integrity, confidentiality, and the use of the username and password is secure. So kind of the same format that you follow with other state testing and PSAT, SAT, on all those materials, that we ask for that same method to be followed in proctoring an ACCUPLACER exam. So the actual portal hasn't changed, so it still looks the same. We're implementing this user agreement, so I can, knowing I'm new to this position, that I can formally set you up with a username and a password. Your username and password will be aligned to your email address at your school, and then if you forget your password, then it would be you logging in with your email address and having that password reset and sent back to you. I think in the past, it was sent to my former predecessor or Dawn, and they would have to reset it for you. Knowing roles have changed and new personnel, I think it's best that you have that formality and you can reset your password if you happen to misplace it or whatnot, okay? So my colleagues are going to be passing out this form. I want you to raise your hand. I didn't make copies for everybody necessarily because I know some of you are here in different fashions, but if you are planning to proctor the exam this year, you will need a form. I need you to read through it, print your name, because I will be typing this into the ACCUPLACER portal. Please provide a signature and date, the name of your high school or career center, and then a contact phone number that you would share. I need these back today because the plan is next week I will start processing these and getting these codes out to you sooner than later. So then you know your username and information. So if you would just raise your hand. Yes, sir.
The ACCUPLACER, what grade level? What grade would the content in that ACCUPLACER?
That is a great question. It's Joe, right? Joe, I'm going to write that down because I'm not sure what grade level that it's specific to, so I will find out that answer for you, all right?
So another question.
Yes.
Can you shed some light on where IDTech might be going with? Because I've been on the IDTech prep.
Yeah.
And it does offer some assistance, but what I'm finding is that a lot of my students, there's a huge gap. So I don't know exactly what to help them do besides send them to that website and have a higher pass rate. So I've done that, I said okay, and I've worked through the IDTech prep.
Okay.
I really don't see the scores go up. So
Okay.
I know there's been talk to have some type of maybe self-tutorial program where they could kind of over the summer, almost like IDTech had that math program where it was all online and it kind of like coached you through algebra.
Okay.
Is there anywhere in the future that might be happening?
I'm taking that down as a note. You know what I mean? Right now, knowing I'm probably 4 months into the job, I think that's a great suggestion, but we can look into that to see what maybe can be offered during the summer to help a student be, you know what I mean, better prepare them for that test. So I wrote that down. Okay? Yes, sir.
I'm just clarifying on the card. I work at a career center, so the only ACCUPLACER I give is your ACCUPLACER, or in a sense, it's a similar thing. Is this ACCUPLACER score you're saying here, is this reflect the DOE ACCUPLACER as well, or is there a different cut score for that?
There is a different cut score for the DOE, and I did not place the DOE cut score on this resource document for testing scores because if you want to look at DOE, contact me individually and I can give you that information. But to me, this was an Ivy Tech. DOE is a high school based test, you know what I mean? So I just knew more and I felt more comfortable with the Ivy Tech cut scores.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask is because I received all this from the high school.
Correct.
So if I have an ACCUPLACER in the DOE ACCUPLACER, I wouldn't want an ACCUPLACER with them. They already qualified.
There's no writing component to the DOE one, so they can only get out of the
But not every career center, not every class requires.
Right, and typically I was under the impression that IDOE ACCUPLACER test is not given until the junior and or senior year. So to me, that's why we're gleaning all the transcripts from our high school partners to hopefully maybe they have a test score, but I also know high schools don't put ACCUPLACER scores on the transcript anyway. Does that make sense? So I hear what you're saying of don't want to test them multiple times. And I'm sure you probably don't get the ACCUPLACER scores from the DOE being a career center. Okay. And that information. Right. ACCUPLACER. Okay.
New high school counselor here. Is ACCUPLACER only offered to those students that are seeking dual credit from Ivy Tech, or to, you know, the ones who are seeking dual credit from other colleges as well?
Great question. Ivy Tech ACCUPLACER is only for Ivy Tech students. So if you have another institution that you're working with, they will have to take their assessments, unfortunately. So Ivy Tech is just for Ivy Tech students. Can't cross match them. Yes.
The version that you guys take, is it the classic or is it the custom version? I can never remember.
So dual credit, dual credit takes classic. Ivy Tech students take custom.
Does anyone need to know the difference between the two?
We just need to know for that other state ACCUPLACER. So the ones our students are taking for dual credit is classic.
Yes, yes. And the classic is the reading,
writing and sentence skills, which is the sentence skills is a multiple choice section for writing basically, and the customized version is reading, writing, and math. But the writing is an essay where they write an essay, type an essay.
So a change is if you're on a 12-point scale, I met with the school this year, they're on an 11-point scale, and I just smiled, or a 4.0 scale, there is a GPA, okay, that we'll look at, okay? So 4.0 scale, it needs to be a 2.6 or higher. For a 12.0 scale, it needs to be a 7.8 or higher. And this is for seniors only, so 6th semester juniors, okay? So they have had to complete their junior year heading into that senior year. So that final, what I would consider a final junior transcript that would be produced in the month of May, June for those students, okay? So we would look at their GPA. So if they have a reading, a writing prerequisite requirement, we would look at those scores. The math, we would look at the math if it is the lower level math score. And you might be thinking, what class is that for? Those are for, I know aviation program has the lower level math score, anatomy has a lower level math score. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but econ has the lower level math score, okay? So there's different classes that have the lower level math score. And I also learned environmental sciences last week. That is the prereq chart that we're working on. We kind of talked about we could give you all the prereqs for all the courses, but then we thought, no, we want to individualize it for your school. So it's just, before we do that, we need to know who's teaching what and what's offered before we give you that next piece. We want to make sure we have all your teachers identified and what they're teaching. But yes, that's the next piece that will go out probably next week, knowing what that looks like. So you know your prerequisites of needing a reading, writing, and or math. So the asterisk math score is for your upper level math classes. So math 135, 136, 137, your chemistries, your physics, that requires that higher level math score, and that's where that asterisk comes in. If they're taking ding, 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 that's the biggie, right? So thank you, gentlemen, for reminding me to point that out, right? So they've taken all these other tests, and now we can look at their GPA. So if it's for an English 111, I only need to look at reading and writing, and if they have a 2.6, they don't need to test. So yeah. Yay. Yay. Come on. Right now. Come on. All right. Mark.
So we're at 12.0 weighted.
12.0. Yep, 12.0. You're good. 7.8.
What if it's 7.8 or higher?
Yes. For seniors only. Yes, sir.
So, if we're proctoring the test, I'm sure you want to see a transcript. Is that the paperwork I collect?
No. Your career center, Mrs. McCardle's waving and smiling at me. She's helping us collect that for all instructors, all teachers. So no, not you. Okay? Your role is to teach them and then obviously grade them. You know what I mean? So, and putting that information in Campus Connect.
Yeah, but I'm going to be proctoring the test.
Correct.
So how would
You're
I
helping.
verify the PSATs? I'd have them bring them with me, right?
You, Mary, and I will be working together, knowing that you want to be able to proctor this test at Public Safety Academy for us. Okay? So what I call the dual candidate roster, then we're going to glean who needs to test after we've processed all transcripts and have all other information scores placed in banner. Okay. Good questions. Anyone else? All right. Ivy Tech has reviewed the new version of the SAT, okay? And we have determined the scores from that SAT. So I just provided in your packet a visual of what the SAT report looks like, okay? So the highlighted regions outline I call it the 2-2-3, so 2-digit score in reading, 2-digit score in writing, and then the 3-digit score in mathematics. Okay, so they reviewed the content, they worked with the College Board to determine what those scores would best align with being what's considered college and career ready in terms of Ivy Tech standards for the state. Yes?
Yesterday I listened to a Parchment webinar.
Yes.
And they told us just to put the new scores in our old score report or our old score spot, and colleges would be looking at the date to know that it was a new one. So not to create new.
So you're not going to have multiple, so what I'm hearing is you're not having multiple new spots.
No, and there will not be sub-scores
Okay.
because the e-transcript has not that
Caught up.
transcript.
Yep, hasn't caught up with.
So will we have to then just print these reports for you to go along with the transcript?
Is this a student report? I mean, we don't get a report.
The Commons transcript developed by Parchment is not taking sub-scores, but Ivy Tech Community College Northeast is asking for sub-scores. So I will get back with you on how that's going to look, okay? Because I know some of you have done a great job already and provided us class lists and transcripts, okay? So we'll work together on determining, hey, we have new scores and this is what they look like. How do you want us to send it, okay? So work with me as I work with you to know what's best for both of us, okay? Perfect. And then we'll figure out common transcript. All right. Okay, why the request for transcripts? I know some of this was some questions by some individuals, so I just wanted to let you know. We want to glean a holistic view of your student, okay? Knowing that we have 2 college advisors working with your students. I recently had a nephew graduated from high school, earned dual credit, and his mom's calling me of like, I think he earned dual credit. Can you let me know if he earned dual credit? You know what I mean? And she knew where I worked and whatnot. My point being, sharing that story with you is letting you know sometimes students don't know they're earning dual credit. And high school students really don't care about anything until they really care about something. You know what I mean? So I understand that, and I'm looking at him like, oh, buddy, good luck. Here you go. You know, and trying to help them, because I know every day you want to help your students and help your families. So that being said, we're collecting the transcripts to have a holistic view of what your student is doing, and our goal is to have our college advisors work with your students so they know you are earning dual credit, and this is what it can do for you. Let's put it to use. Okay, you can transfer with this, you can stay here at Ivy Tech, you can earn a certificate, you can earn a degree. I told my nephew there's no money tree sitting in your parents' backyard. You want to take as much dual credit as you can while in high school. You know what I mean? Those conversations that I know you guys are having with your students, that you have at your back to school nights, that you have at your parent nights in the evenings, we want to also be a voice, because I always knew when I sat in that chair, I'm like, wah, 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 right? So we want to help you to be another voice to encourage your students and your families to understand you are earning dual credit and this is what it can do for you, okay? So, some events that we're holding, okay? I want to highlight one event that's coming up soon. It is our appreciation breakfast that admissions department runs. It's the wine dinner. I said breakfast. Maybe because I'm talking to myself, I'm like, wine for breakfast. Probably not good, right? All right. I don't know about craft beer, but we would like to honor you and appreciate you even more. I was told that it's a farm-to-table concept. The wine will be paired with the meal. A couple different varieties will be offered. You're welcome to bring you and your spouse, your secretaries, because we all know they do a lot for us. And if you can't go, you can pass your invite to your principal or administrator. But I was told to highlight this. I know we have 35 attendees, and we'd like 75, okay? So you email Robin Boss, admissions director. to RSVP. It is on September 15th, okay, here at Ivy Tech Coliseum campus. Breakfast. All right, some other events that we're hosting this year are the iCareer events, identified and aligned to different programs. I've already received some great responses that our iCareer Day for Health is moving to 2 days. One of the days filled up rather quickly, so we needed to have the other day. So we still have openings for the 20th. I'm going to be sending this out because it has live links in it. So then you can RSVP, you can send this to your teachers and they can determine on attendance. Another one that's coming up is our Manufacturing Day in October 7th. I encourage you, if your school offers Project Lead the Way, if they offer any other engineering-based classes, that is a great day to attend. It's a national event that we are hosting here at Ivy Tech. We're also offering an Ag Day that was solidified last week on November 4th. Kelly Kreider is energetic and awesome, and I'm excited to work with her this year. So there'll be an Ag Day in November. And then we also have construction trades and automotive heading into the spring in April. So a couple different events. I know they're smaller on the screen, so you'll be getting this electronically, so you can click on the link. But I just wanted to highlight the different events that are offered this year. Traditionally, our Go Ivy days, those are happening again, one in the fall, one in the spring. Those days will capture any student, dual credit, traditional student that wants to come on campus. We also offer a PSAT time, so if you need to have your seniors go do something college focus or career focus, send them to Ivy Tech admissions department, and then we can help with admissions as well as the K-12 team support those students and give them a tour or talk to them or whatnot, what they, those information that they need on those days. Any questions? ACCUPLACER, iCareer Days. Yes. It's like, yes.
GPA, is that the GPA requirement for ACCUPLACER, is that here at this campus or is that state?
Agreements with other Ivy Techs, is that why you were asking, possibly, with a program?
No, I was really asking because if you're on a 12-point scale, the kids on a 12-point scale really have to have a higher GPA than the kids on a 4.0 scale.
So we asked that question because when we mathematically figured it, our state registrar said it was a 7.8 because they did something math-wise. Because when I did it, because I went to some...
It's a 6.8.
Yes, when I went to some GPA calculator, it is a 6.8, but talking to our registrar, there's some kind of math thing that is this, that is a 7.8 because I was like, Dawn, this doesn't make sense. So it is a 7.8. Yes?
If we have colleagues that will be administering the ACCUPLACER that are not here today, how do they get signed up for the user agreement?
Okay, so we are being taped today. They will need to watch the videos segments of the ACCUPLACER presentation. So from Linnell and myself, they will need to take a quiz, and then I will electronically send them the user agreement, and then they'll have to get it back to me, scan it back to me, sign. Great question.
Okay, I helped. So you're looking up the second day.
So the first day is still going to be the 20th. The second day, I've already worked with the school waiting for confirmation. So, yeah, so they wanted to bring a lot of kiddos, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. So we have accommodated them, and moving forward, I just need that confirmation. So.